Milwaukee Bucks and the Philadelphia 76ers played on Christmas, Joel Embiid had his second really defensive, big-time dominant defensive game in the last, I would say, 2.5 weeks. He held Giannis Antetokounmpo to 2 of 11 from the field in one-on-one guarding situations, and I believe he only hit maybe 3 or 4 shots on the entire day.
Yeah, and he had 18 points, which is pedestrian for a guy like Giannis.
Exactly, and Joel Embiid is definitely starting to mold the figure that is him wanting to be in a position to be named or be mentioned as the NBA Defensive Player of the Year.
And this matchup is actually who I have in the East Finals, I think. I think with 76ers, their length is what gives Giannis that trouble, like Kawhi and Siakam and Ibaka and all did with the Raptors last year. And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge to the Bucks is the 76ers and that defensive heat they could put on you.
I definitely like that pick out of the East. Don't sleep on the Boston Celtics and don't sleep on the Miami Heat. Just saying. Miami looks really good this year. The Lakers played the Los Angeles Clippers again, the Battle of LA 2, if I'm not mistaken. And in a nutshell, because I watched this entire game, this was the only Christmas game I was interested in, so I watched it in its entirety. And the most compelling part of the game, obviously, was Patrick Beverley making a really clutch championship-level play against LeBron James. This is not me going off subject to start a conversation that I'm not willing to have this morning about Michael Jordan versus LeBron James, but Michael Jordan would have never let Patrick Beverley put him in the blender like that. I'm just saying. So, LeBron, I'm just saying, if you got it, Mike's not doing that. I'm just saying, just putting that out there. Once again, good morning, everyone. Well, I haven't said it good morning the first time, but good morning, everybody, as well. Happy Monday to y'all. Also,
Happy New Year's.
Well, almost, but nonetheless. Merry belated Christmas. Happy Kwanzaa as well. Happy Kwanzaa for those who celebrate it. Happy Hanukkah for those who celebrate it as well. Speaking of old tradition, the Miami Hurricanes becoming bad in college football is starting to be an old tradition that I'm really sick of, and I'm very disappointed by. So Miami, I just need you guys to tighten up. We got Goose Egg by Louisiana Tech in the Independence Bowl. These are one of two major bowl events that took place the day after Christmas. The second major bowl event that took place the day after Christmas was the quarterback from Eastern Michigan attempting to punch out a Pittsburgh football player per him making kind of like an aggressive tackle at the end of the game of the fourth quarter of the Quick Lane Bowl in Detroit. Kind of a de facto Motor City Bowl, if you can remember those from back in the day.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, it's just a different brand. And the quarterback, he hits that guy from Pittsburgh, and then the referee's running in to break up the fight, and he cold clocks the referee. It's a really funny viral clip.
So jumping on the Miami thing real quick, that's for people who haven't followed college football that long. Miami getting blanked by Louisiana Tech is something 15 years ago you'd have been flabbergasted. You would have had no clue. And what's crazy is they still get top level talent in Miami. It's kind of a mystery to me what goes on down there as far as why they're not a more successful program. I guess Clemson has siphoned off a lot of the ACC talent and getting other teams in Florida. I mean, it's so stocked with players in high school football in Florida. You would hope Miami is just locally. They're able to recruit a winning team.
Well, from the outside looking in, one thing I would say is, three things. Number one, we can't keep coaches worth the fuck. It's just what it is. We just fired Dan Enos, and then on top of that, we got Manny Diaz, and I don't think Manny Diaz will make very much longer. Because when you start switching out coordinators, the very next person to be swapped out is the head coach. Number two, the state of Florida is saturated with other college football programs, other college football powerhouses that come down and pluck all the talent out of the state of Florida. Is what it is. And thirdly, and most importantly, we're not even the biggest school. We're not even the most like important school in the state of Florida. From like 96 to like 2004, 2005, maybe 2003, for like a 7 or 8 year run, Miami was it in Florida. And that's even during the Florida State glory years of the late 90s, early 2000s, and even the early mid 2000 glory years or successful football years that were like 8-9 win seasons for like during the Rex Grossman Florida games and stuff like that. Meanwhile, dealing with quarterbacks or speaking of quarterbacks, Sam Howell had an absolutely amazing game against Temple this past Saturday in the Military Bowl. The reason why it was worth mentioning being dropped is because of the fact my co-host is a Chapel Hill football fan. So
he's gonna win at least one ACC Player of the Year when Trevor Lawrence is finally gone.
I feel like he's definitely the best quarterback in the ACC. Does not name Trevor Lawrence going forward. It's not even close. So the rest of the quarterbacks. So it's interesting to see what the rest of the quarterbacks in the ACC will play out like. But I think it's Sam Howell, and I think it's Sam Howell in the field. That's really genuinely how I feel about that at this point. Clemson versus Ohio State. The review from the Fiesta Bowl. Chase Young was absolutely non-factor in the game, so I wouldn't be mad if he chooses to come back to school another year. In that case, it makes me wonder: are Clemson's offensive tackles actually like first round, second round type talent? Because they pretty much single blocked him for what I saw as far as play count. At least 80% of the play they single blocked Chase Young. He had 2 tackles. He had an assist and a solo, so he had really a tackle and a half.
Sorry.
You good.
Play calling for it is what I really noticed. They went away from him all night. They said you're going to line up because they moved Chase Young around constantly, right. And it seemed that they were rolling to the other side with Trevor Lawrence getting him on the edge, or running Etienne right past Chase Young because he likes to get up the field. So in rush situations, you can kind of play the tackle can kind of play it like a pass a little bit to trick him to get him to go off field and just run past the tackle. So I think they did a good job of that.
I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. And to piggyback, but put more proof of my point with Chase Young's ineffectiveness, you got to watch like all of the spread plays, the 10 personnel that's 1 running back, 0 tight end, or the 11 personnel that's 1 running back, 1 tight end with 3 or 4 receivers out there, as well as your 5 linemen in the box as far as formations go. But when you look at them in 10 and 11 personnel the other night, when you just had to single block Chase Young on the tackle, Clemson did an incredibly great job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And granted, they didn't necessarily roll out to his way and things of that nature, and they did some things to go away from Chase Young. Let's be clear. But I feel like it showed that they were confident that they could block the guy more than they feel like they had the game plan against him.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's when you're on the doorstep of being a game wrecker, but not quite a game wrecker, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it definitely it makes you wonder if he is a Bosa type. You know, because those 2 guys are playing out pretty well in the NFL from Ohio State. And, hopefully it wasn't just teams getting down by 3 or 4 touchdowns early and him just feasting on must-throw situations.
Well,
and I know it's not all that because 16.5 sacks is 16.5 sacks.
16.5 sacks in the Big Ten is something to be noted because at least 60% of the Big Ten runs the ball.
Yeah.
The best team in the Big Ten is not named Ohio State, runs the ball in 22 and 23 personnel. That means 2 and 3 tight ends. The school I'm talking about, you might ask, Wisconsin, who's playing in the Rose Bowl against Oregon.
Badges.
LSU, they look like a buzzsaw. They looked like a buzzsaw to be. How can I say this? They look like a buzzsaw that I've never seen in college football this late in the season. Joe Burrow had 8 total touchdowns. Jordan Jefferson, the younger brother of Justin Jefferson, the younger brother. I got Jordan Jefferson written down. Good buddy of mine from the Pittsburgh Power in 2013. But Justin Jefferson, Jordan Jefferson's little brother, number 2, the receiver, had 4 touchdowns. College football playoff record. On the other side of the coin for Oklahoma, CeeDee Lamb had 2 touchdowns. I want to say like 122 yards receiving. He also declared for the NFL draft. We'll get to that in a moment. He declared for the NFL draft yesterday. CeeDee Lamb. He's projected top 15 draft pick. That being said, LSU, I think, is definitely ready to run into the boulder on your shoulder style of team that Clemson is. And what I mean by that is this. Clemson's done a little bit of everything that you can want to do when you start talking about college football dynasties. They killed Alabama when they slayed Alabama when they were big bad Alabama still, in my opinion. They took guys like Hunter Renfrow, Jordan Leggett, guys like that, guys who were having serviceable NFL careers, and they turned them into and had them be really, really great assets on their team personally. Their entire defensive line is doing well in the NFL. They went to the NFL last year. Things of that nature. You have Deshaun Watson, who's one of the brightest young talents at the quarterback position in the NFL. But what Clemson has, I think the last feather in Clemson's cap is take your quarterback, who's, by the way, undefeated. As of Saturday night, he's 25-0. Take your quarterback, who's undefeated, and go slay the best offensive juggernaut and the most powerful offensive machine to be produced in the SEC. To be produced in the SEC since the Florida Gator Tim Tebow years.
Yeah, I mean, watching
and slay that monster. I think Clemson can do it, but I also feel like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and company and Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Lloyd Cushenberry III and Austin DeCoulis, two of their better offensive linemen, and that's that whole unit. I just feel like they're driven in a different kind of way. You know, they have a different type of approach about how they feel that they're going to lead, how they feel they're going to cement and staple a legacy within LSU football lore.
Joe Burrow is one of the most calm players I've ever seen. He'll have three guys collapsing on him in the pocket, and he just slips out a little bit,
right?
Tosses it 35 yards down the field.
Right.
I got this thing when I watch quarterbacks is, happy feet. They got oh shit feet. That's what I call it. And they just start hopping. Trubisky does it more than anyone in the NFL I think I've ever seen. The dude throws off of, when he's in midair, it's crazy.
Right.
And he's not good at it like Aaron Rodgers. And Joe Burrow never seems to be off balance, never seems to get hurried, never seems to care if there's pressure or not. He just very calm. His whole team, like you said, they're playing, unbelievably cohesively.
Todd McShay from ESPN had a really, really good soundbite that can describe exactly what you're talking about during the playoff game the other day. He said, and I quote, "Joe Burrow is the best off-schedule quarterback that I've scouted in the last 10 years. What that means, sports fans, by being off schedule is the fact that I can be able to have the play break down totally around me and I still stay up under the same composure as I did when the play was sensible, and I can be able to do what I need to do, as well as physically running out of the pocket, scramble plays, not necessarily rollouts, waggles, stuff like that. Waggle is just another word for rollout, people. I'll give you a little bit more educated football term than most people on sports podcasts, because I play the game professionally, so there you go. Meanwhile...
And I play Madden, and Waggle's one of the best plays on there, so...
Facts. Big facts. Meanwhile, the Orange Bowl, let's get a preview of the last five, not the last five bowl games that matter, but five of the bigger bowl games that will be taking place between today and New Year's Day, which is Tuesday, January the 1st. The Orange Bowl, Florida versus Virginia. I'm going to take Florida because of the fact that I think Florida has a couple of really, really entertaining and Sunday-level defensive players on two different sides and two different levels of the football that I think will potentially positively affect what's going on. I have to give a double check to this, but they have C.J. Henderson, who's a top 5 corner coming out of college football. I want to double check and see if he's playing in that game, because I wouldn't be surprised if I was to see he wasn't playing in that game. Because a lot of these top 10 guys are not playing in a bowl game, and that's cool. If you're going top 10, go train, go get ready to go get your money. I'm not mad at that.
I'd also pick Florida. Just their defense, I think, is going to smother UVA's offense. They have the athletes that I think can stop that guy from running all day.
UVA with the quarterback Perkins, he's pretty good. One of the better all-purpose or dual-threat quarterbacks in college football. So I think it'll be interesting. But I just don't think Virginia has enough to be able to compete. But then again, it's bowl season, so we'll see. Minnesota versus Auburn in the Outback Bowl. I'm still drinking the Kool-Aid in relation to rowing the boat. I think PJ Fleck will have a very, very motivated, very, very hungry, if you will, Minnesota team against Auburn in the Outback Bowl. But by the same token, a lot of people forget, like I mentioned last week, I'm changing my pick on the fly. I'm going with Auburn. Why? Because Derrick Brown III is playing. Nobody's going to block Derrick Brown III in the Outback Bowl. And then from there, he's going to show why I think he's going to be the first defensive lineman taken off the board in April's draft.
For Chase Young.
I don't even think Chase Young's going to come out of school. And the way he performed Saturday, he shouldn't. Because at the end of the day, in the biggest game of the season against a guy who's not necessarily touted, you got your ass blocked.
I understand.
Derrick Brown in that same situation would have been a behemoth for Clemson to have had to block. But once again, I think he Like you asked me about him last week. I feel like he's a Glenn Dorsey plus an Ndamukong Suh with a little bit of Marcel Darius to him as far as like his nastiness. He finishes a lot of plays. If you watch him this year, he finishes a whole lot of plays very, very nasty. He finishes he definitely plays with a certified mean streak about himself for sure.
I was gonna pick Auburn as well.
Okay.
I think Bo Nix and their offense is just they're not gonna be able. I just don't think Minnesota can stop them the way other SEC teams stopped them during the season, made them look a little bit.
I feel like this. I don't know.
Lethargic at times.
True, and I think that's a valid point. I don't know how many all Big Ten players that Minnesota had on their defense, but they have a first-team All-American in Antoine Winfield Jr. So if that says anything about the reflection of their defense, I think their defense will be serviceable, if not competitive, at the very least.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be a blowout by any means.
Minnesota's got two NFL caliber receiver prospects.
Oh yeah,
So
sure.
let's not sleep on what Minnesota can do offensively as well, but not saying we're sleeping on it. We just wanted to touch on it for a minute because we didn't discuss it. Agreed?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Oregon and Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl. Very intriguing matchup. Wisconsin usually does well against bowl season because a lot of teams find themselves very, very stumped of how to prepare for a power run against 2 tight ends and 3 tight ends. Cool, not a problem. I would like to take Oregon in the game simply because Oregon is but with their tempo and things of that nature, not so much now. They're more spread / pro style with Mario Cristobal. They're not necessarily like Chip Kelly, Mark Helfrich trying to run 97 plays. You know what I mean? Like they're not going at a breakneck pace. But Wisconsin, Wisconsin just struggles with the type of athlete that Oregon puts on the field in recent history, and they've seen each other before in the bowl game. So I can appreciate that. Good matter of fact, little personal tad bit. One of my better friends that I have personally is Darren Thomas, who was the last Rose Bowl MVP for Oregon. Went in the year that they beat Wisconsin. Okay. In the year when they did the hydrochrome helmets, him, Kenyon Barner, and LaMichael Joyner were in LaMichael James were in the backfield.
Was that the Russell Wilson year? Russell Wilson was at Wisconsin?
I don't know who was the quarterback. I don't know who was the quarterback. But if you remember, Darren Thomas was number 5, black quarterback. All he used to wear was like wrist tape. Yeah, so.
Gotcha. I actually think Wisconsin's going to win this game. I think with Jonathan Taylor and that O-line is just going to control the time of possession and not give Oregon the chance to run all over or have Herbert just slice them up. And I think their defense has added athletes these last couple of years where it was a little bit less, big country linebackers and a little bit more side-to-side speed on Wisconsin's D.
Wisconsin keeps good athletic DBs. They usually keep more of your more stiffer up and down, more bigger straight straight down the line in the gap linebackers who aren't that athletic. Yeah. That's transitioning, and then they still got traditional D linemen. You got your bigger, stronger 5 techniques, and you got some big old boys that you're shading your 3 techs. This is what Wisconsin does. West Virginia. Let me think. Make sure I'm not moving too fast. Okay, cool. West Virginia University, the best college basketball game all weekend. Ohio State was the number 2 team in the country. Bob Huggins and the 22nd ranked West Virginia Mountaineers, who are always a tough out. If you watched them for the last 6-7 years in college basketball, West Virginia's one of the toughest outs. Different parts of the year too, like tournament time, holiday season time, they're always a tough out. One of my favorite teams to watch in college basketball.
Bob Huggins is a great coach, and they've run that pressure defense for years now, and it always gives teams struggles when they don't have experience.
I just love the fact that Bob Huggins coaches a style of basketball that creates a non-lazy person as an athlete. Yes, you can't.
I know exactly what you mean.
You can't be a lazy ass and play in his pressure offense. It's 94 feet on the basketball floor. It's 94 feet of pressure with Bob Huggins. I love it. I love everything about it.
It keeps you engaged the whole time, like you're saying. You don't ever fall asleep on defense or worry about a back cut getting by you because you're focused all the time.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
I think they said their starting team only had 22 points total, West Virginia. So they had a guy come off their bench and drop 21 for them. McBride, so
just for the sake of name dropping, Facts. I guess for the sake of name dropping, since I'm a Duke Blue Devil fan, we beat Brown University out of the Ivy School earlier this week by like 19 or like 20 points or something. I want to say it was like 75 to 56 or something like that. Vernon Carey Jr. is starting to come on for us as like being like our go-to guy. So it's really cool to see that we have an athletic big man that can score the basketball in Cameron, and it's pretty dope. I don't think I've seen a guy like that for us in recent memory since Jaleel Okafor. So it's really interesting to see a guy like that coming along from a Duke Blue Devil.
I think if Duke doesn't have Zion last year, we would have seen it from Wendell Carter Jr. He seems to be stepping up when he's got to the NBA.
Wendell did a really good job of coming in the same class with that guy, but having NBA type talent. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, he's a top 10 pick too.
Really, really well in the NBA, just like you said.
Like so the Chicago Bulls are that young talent they got there is looking good.
I agree, but I'm gonna piggyback on your statement for a minute to just give you clarity about me understanding where you're coming from. Like, Wendell should have still been more dominant at Duke.
Okay.
With his time at Duke.
Yeah.
So I do agree with that wholeheartedly. Moving along. A little bit of soccer news. Arsenal lost to Chelsea yesterday. You know I like to give y'all a little bit of soccer talk. 2-1 in full time, which means there was no extra time, so it was pretty much like a 90 to 95 minute game. Arsenal and Chelsea, like the Reds versus the Blues, like it's one of the oldest sports rivalries in all of sport. Internationally, in America, major sports, college, amateur, what have you. Like, it's one of the biggest rivalries in all of sports. So anytime Arsenal plays Chelsea, I like to talk about it. So you guys always get that going for it. And I try to give you guys something internationally. We try to give you guys something internationally. Like, I like international sport. I can't say that my co-host likes it that much. I'm pretty sure he's not against it, you know what I'm saying? But by the same token, like, he's more of a brick and mortar American sports guy, more kind of like brick and mortar, like, and around the world too. So it is what it is. But
I like EuroLeague basketball and cricket from India.
Okay, so we get a okay.
I'm just kidding.
Oh man, all right. Well, you could have fooled me.
I know.
You could have fooled me. I like EuroLeague basketball a little bit. I like cricket, but I like cricket from a distance.
I like rugby. If I'm gonna pick any international sport besides for soccer, because
you should have paid some attention earlier this winter or this fall to the Rugby World Cup. New Zealand won the Rugby World Cup this year, by the way.
Yeah, they got that guy that is faster than everyone else. I can't remember his name, but he gets the ball and it's gone.
Right, and it's a wrap. Like, that shit don't make no sense. I know exactly what you're talking about. I want to say that kid got an NFL look or something like that in like the last year or so, but I could be wrong.
If I was a coach, I'd have been like, yeah.
That's kind of like the trend now. Well, not the trend. It's not now. I mean, because back in the day, like, rugby kickers, like, if you remember, I remember, not Steve Christie, but the original Aussie punter from the San Diego Chargers, Darren Bennett, that was his name. That's his name I was thinking about. Number 2. If you remember, Darren Bennett made Aussie kick, like he was like the originator with that.
Okay.
Like Aussie kickers from like Australian rules football and rugby coming overseas to like kick, like he was like the first guy to like really make a name with that. Now let me be clear. You got Pete Stojanovic, John Stannerud, Garo Premium. You got a lot of international kickers, but I'm talking about guys from my time, 1990 and above, who had Australian rules experience who came over to kick. That's the correlation with that conversation. Former NFL D lineman Greg Hardy will be fighting on March the 28th, 2020 against Yorgan De Castro at UFC Columbus. It should be a pay-per-view style event. I'm pretty sure he's going to be on the pay-per-view card in relation to the prelim card. He is 5-2 in his first 7 appearances. I really, really think that what Greg Hardy has going on for himself is really, really cool. I think that it's really refreshing, and it's really delightful. To pick an adjective for that, it's really delightful to me to see that situation taking place with Greg Hardy. And being able to show people that you can be a ridiculously angry person and you can be a ridiculously aggressive person about life and still put yourself in a position to like be able to rechannel your energy and your focus into something that can make you money and allow you to get your emotions off.
Yeah, that's a good point. helping with the anger management and fighting is one of the best things they say.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's good he found that outlet too. He obviously had some issues he was working through back in his NFL days, and I watched his last fight. It was on the pay-per-view or the prelims, I believe, last time, and he got pieced up pretty good. But I will say this: he's a tough dude. Right. He was getting, getting rocked in the face over and over again, and kept coming forward and kept coming to the middle of the ring until they finally stopped the fight.
Now, one thing about me that makes Greg Hardy interesting to watch as a fight every time is the fact that with Greg Hardy, like, I personally feel like when he's fighting, you get to see the NFL in him. You get to see the football player in him. You get to see the grind, the grit. You get to see so much of what makes a football player who he is within, like, 15 minutes of a fight. It's really, really cool.
And he's built, like, you can tell he's built differently. A lot of those guys are shredded and a little bit, usually they have some kind of proportion where they're thicker down low and they like to kick, or they're thicker up top, they like to strike. He seems to be pretty well balanced, but he's a straight striker. He doesn't do much wrestling or anything.
He's a football body. Now his groundwork is decent. And how did I know this? I met his MMA coach at Fort Lauderdale Airport earlier this year when I was coming back from a championship season down in Mexico. So yeah, he was a really cool dude. White guy. He was telling me, he's like, Greg has great stand up, but like people get in the ring and want to throw with him. So he's like, we're not gonna go off schedule. So that's fair. Errol Spence keeping the fight game going on for a second. Errol Spence is eyeing a 2020 return. If you remember, after his last victory last year, I believe he beat Sean Porter, if I'm not mistaken, Sean Porter Jr. Went kind of on a joyride shortly thereafter, not the same night, but I want to say a few weeks after, down and back home in Texas where he lives. He lives in the greater Dallas area. He wrecked his Lamborghini, got launched out of his car. So basically it was a blessing he even was able to keep his life in general, but nonetheless, he's eyeing a 2020 return. He started back running and doing like workouts and things of that nature. So that's really good to hear for Errol Spence, who I think is one of the best young fighters and one of the best young professional athletes, regardless of sport anyway. So it's definitely good to see the fact that a really stupid decision didn't allow him to put himself in a position of not being able to continue his career. Speaking of not being able to continue your career, being able to continue something, Gervonta Davis made sure that Yuriorkis Gamboa in Atlanta, Georgia on Saturday night couldn't finish the entire fight. He knocked him out in the 12th round. Really, really good fight. Some people are saying that Gervonta kind of played with them throughout the fight to a certain degree, and some people are saying that Gervonta Davis was just fought a really good opponent and it took him a little bit longer to crack the rock, if you will. I'm not mad at that. One thing about me is, like, I want to see Gervonta Davis start to get, not necessarily bigger fights, but I definitely want to see him on, like, pay-per-view more and stuff like that. Because, I mean, if you had a Showtime package, you could watch that for free last night. But my point is, I feel like Gervonta Davis is easily one of the top 5 young fighters pound for pound in boxing coming up, and it's not even close. And him and other guys who are really, really prevalent in the sport need to definitely put themselves in a position to be seen. You know what I'm saying? Put themselves in a position to be heard, for sure.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the MMA is just taking over as far as the fighting game is concerned. That it's just adding the element or the other elements to the sport. It gives something that even it brings boxing fans like it, right. Wrestling, jiu-jitsu, all that kind of stuff.
I feel like you bring in more fans, but how boxing still makes their money because they believe in the big name. The big name is a thing in MMA, but if you also notice, the biggest enemy of MMA is oversaturation. The UFC's got like 100 fucking fighters on their roster, bro, or some stupid shit like that. Like, now granted, you got Conor McGregor, John Bones Jones, the Diaz brothers, Cain Velasquez, guys who fight by first name draw. It was like, okay, I'm going to see that guy fight, but then you got like. I don't even know. I can't even.
I know what you mean. You just have different tiers on it.
Who is that guy?
But I mean, boxing has that too. And now, we only know the top 12 to 20 boxers in the world. Your big sports fan's gonna know that many, maybe.
I'll be honest with you, man. I can only name about 7, 8 boxers.
That's what I'm saying.
So I feel exactly where you're coming from with that.
Yeah. I think the UFC just slowly started to take over, but you're always gonna have your boxing diehard fans and it's still fun to watch. It's incredible what those guys do. Like guys like Floyd who just don't get hit for 12 rounds for 50 fights. It's fun to watch.
I agree wholeheartedly. Last point on boxing. the MGM Grand in Las Vegas will host the Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder fight on February the 22nd.
This is one to get excited about.
Facts. This hit Instagram and Twitter on a massive point. I would say this hit earlier.
It was Saturday, I believe.
It was like Saturday when they dropped it. So
the last Fury Wilder was a classic one. He knocks Fury down. Fury gets up like a damn angel,
right,
and then ends up winning that round, dominating the rest of it in the 11th round. I mean, it was, it was just awesome to watch. I mean, Wilder, Fury's obviously the more polished boxer and has been more experienced, but Deontay's got that shot, man.
What people aren't understanding about Deontay is the fact that Deontay is becoming so much of a better boxer on the fly.
Yeah, I mean, he's only been doing this for like 8 years.
He's boxing guys who are better boxers than him. It's no secret, but Deontay's getting his bag on the fly. Like,
well, he's learning how to set up his punch better and better. That was one thing that people don't, I think, give Tyson as much credit.
That's why he shot against Ortiz in the last fight when he knocked that boy. Ortiz. Yeah. That's one when he knocked Ortiz's sweat into the 18th row. It was such a calculated shot. That was proof. That's proof of what I'm talking about.
Like Tyson was the best.
And what we're talking about
at setting you up.
Been improving as well.
Yeah, he's one of the best I've seen at setting you up for that big hit. And I think Deontay's learning more and more how to do that with his jab and how to edge the spacing so that, if you give him that opening, the fight's over.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. We're going to go into a little bit of a hot take, and we have one more announcement for something in relation to like the regular show schedule or the regular show skeleton, if you will, before we go into the NFL review from Sunday playoff picture in the variety part of our show. Serena Williams and LeBron James have been named the AP Male and Female Athletes of the Decade. Dope. Luka Doncic signed on with Jordan Brand. Another great athlete with really, really great basketball skills who's going to put out a really, really shitty shoe.
At 20 years old, he might have the chance to be the athlete of the next decade.
I'm just saying, Jack, I'm not buying no Air Lucas, John. Like, they better be fired. They better be some fire.
Slightly better than the Steph Curry nurse practitioner shoes.
I mean, Steph Curry Under Armour shoes don't look bad. You won't catch them on my feet, but I'm a Nike guy. Like, I just like wearing Nike. You know what I'm saying? But by the same token, like Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, like, man, Michael Jordan puts out some shitty team shoes. Like, his retro shoe and all that's cool, but like when guys sign on, like guys don't just sign on and make a dope Air Jordan. Like,
I like Kyrie's and LeBron's. I mean,
my favorite non-Air Jordan shoe that's out right now, all time.
Well, I'm not a shoe head either, so
I'm not either. We can talk shoes for about 15 seconds on UntiedJordans, so go figure. But I don't know. I'm a big Deion Sanders fan. Anything Nike Air, anything from the Nike Air Zoom Jet time. That's big for me. Like Barry Sanders, Junior Seau, Marshall Faulk, Reggie White, Brett Favre, Derek Thomas, guys just who had really just more of your influential, Bo Jackson, just more of your influential Nike guys who were NFL guys in the 90s and the 2000s and stuff like that. Ken Griffey, what Ken Griffey did with his shoes, I like that a lot, you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. The New Orleans Saints, I bet you didn't know this as of yesterday.
Okay.
The New Orleans Saints only had 8 turnovers as an offense all season.
Yeah, I mean, that
shit blew my mind.
That's impressive.
NFL record, by the way. That shit blew my mind. Christian McCaffrey, 3rd player in NFL history with 1,000 yards receiving and rushing. The other 2, LaDainian Tomlinson and Roger Craig.
Yeah.
Damn shame. Put Roger Craig in the Hall of Fame. That means I'm playing.
Please.
He's the only glory player from the 49ers glory years not in the Hall of Fame. Like, come on, dude. It's ridiculous. Couple of contract extensions to announce. The Marcus Peters one was more public. 3 years, $42 million with a 26.5 guarantee of that. I don't know details, but let me explain this one more time how it goes. 3 years, $42 million. If he plays out a whole contract for 3 years, that's $42 million in the bank for Marcus Peters. You take $26 million in guaranteed money from 42, that's $16 million. Marcus Peterson's real contract after guarantees is 3 years, $16 million. If you look at a $26 million signing, if you look at a $26 million guarantee, he could have signed for 8 and the other 18 in guarantees. He could have, and talking about signing bonuses, he could have signed for 10, kept 16, or had 16 be later guaranteed or given to you, distributed in other ways. By the way, roster bonuses, workout bonuses, and like roster exemptions. What I mean by a roster exemption, I'm probably using the wrong word, but so what I would say is like roster incentives, like guys who get paid at the beginning of the league year just for being on the team's roster from last year, but you only deal with that with your big superstar contract guys. That's why you see a lot of guys don't end up back on the NFL team sometimes. Like, what happened to that guy? Well, he had a $9 million roster bonus due at the beginning of the league year, or some shit like that.
Cut you the week before, so they're like,
nah, bro, we not paying you that. Or we ain't paying you that, and we'll eat the rest of whatever we owe you on the back end. That's a lot of damn money, and a lot of times the only guys who cash in on that are people who iron are hot. If you got a cold iron at that point, man, your ass on the way out the door. That's just what it is, because the finances don't make sense, and then the draft's coming up, so you gotta have money ready for the draft too. Yeah, that's just how that works in relation to that. Like, exactly, just the flexibility of it all to do good business, to do even business. Curtis Weaver Jr. from Boise State. He was a 6'3", 265-pound outside linebacker, defensive end, hybrid. He was a first-team Walter Camp All-American this year out of Boise State. He's declared for the NFL draft. He's been projected as a top 20 to top 32 pick, so he's a mid to late first rounder. CeeDee Lamb has been projected as a top 15 pick overall. Anywhere between 10 and 15, 20, anywhere between 10, 15, 18 overall. CeeDee Lamb, in my opinion, is the best receiver coming out of college football this year, coming out of college football. Jamar Chase was the Blitnikoff Trophy winner. I think CeeDee should have won that too. But nonetheless, CeeDee Lamb is declaring for the NFL draft, and I feel like he could potentially be the best receiver out of this class.
I agree. I think he could end up on a team like the Eagles, the Steelers, the Bears.
Oh my God, if we got CeeDee Lamb in Philly, it would be like, if we got CeeDee Lamb in Philly, it'd be like Nelson Aguilar on crack. Like
Nelson Aguilar that could actually catch?
Well, just period. It would be not necessarily.
That dude gets separation.
That's a bad analogy.
He gets separation.
It'd be Nelson Aguilar on steroids. Facts.
He's like Ted Ginn with a worse catch rate. He's like, I'll get 4 yards past the defense.
I'm not gonna disrespect Ted. I'm not gonna let Ted get disrespected like that. He's burning Aguilar in the 40. He's so much faster than Nelson Aguilar. Shit don't make no sense.
No, I just mean Aguilar gets separation. He runs good routes, and then he just misses it, man.
Well, this is my thing. If put it like this, to give you to bring that comparison full circle. If Nelson Aguilar had Ted Ginn's speed, he'd be all pro. No cap,
he'd be Orlando Brown from the Replacements. He can't catch nothing.
Right, that's exactly who he is. That's exactly
he needs to stick him.
Facts, bro. That's exactly who he is, dude. He's definitely Eddie. He's definitely High Hands Eddie from freaking what was High Hands Eddie? Nah, freaking Little Giants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Little Giants. It's the deep cuts.
Facts.
Rick Moranis coaching football. I don't see that every day.
Right. Rick Moranis, what a name drop. By the way.
Oh, Little Giants. I mean, all those Big Green, Sandlot. Those are my movies growing up, man.
Facts. My favorite movie of all those types of movies is easily the original Sandlot.
Oh, for sure.
The Great Bambino.
Oh, I mean, in the best trash talk ever. You play ball like a girl.
Facts. You play ball like a girl.
It's cold.
You look down like, hey man, boy, that's a sin, Jack.
You can't say that.
That's fighting words. For the year of 2019, Kawhi Leonard and Simone Biles were both named the male and female AP Athlete of the Year. Kawhi Leonard, obviously, he's easily been the most dominant the most dominantly disappointing professional athlete of this year, in my opinion. He went to Toronto, put the team on his back, won a championship, then left them sad as hell to be in Southern California with his boy Paul George and Doc Rivers playing really good basketball.
And I mean, what he did to the
Really
76ers.
good defensive basketball, by the way.
What he did to the 76ers in the Eastern Conference Finals, too. That shot is crazy how it went in, and it just ended the series. And you can see it on all the 76ers players' face. Like, man, I hope he goes to the West.
that was crazy. Fact.
Shutting down Giannis.
Everybody wanted to go to the West instead of his teammates in Toronto. Like,
MVP.
Right.
Well, had one of the best seasons we've seen in a long time, dominant-wise. And he said, "No, you're not coming in the lane on us," and shut them down in the second round. So, I mean, he dominated that playoff run, and I mean, like you said, he put that team on his back.
True enough. Simone Biles. I keep saying Biles, but Simone Biles is first of all, she's African American and Belizean, and she is the most decorated gymnast of all time. I think she has more competitive gold medals in women's gymnastics than anybody in history. So she's the GOAT.
Yeah.
Shout out to her. Last thing before we get into the NFL review from yesterday and the playoff preview and the variety part of our show. The College Football 150. College football is celebrating their 150th year of college football this year. There was a selection committee, people like Archie Manning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they have, they had the logo this year, as you guys saw. If you guys watch the college football playoff, the 50-yard line is the 150 logo. Like, it's a big thing this year. It's all over college football. They named an all-time All-American team. Give you the first and second teams. I'm not going to speak about who snubbed and who should have made it, not made it. Yeah, I'm gonna just leave it at that. I'm just naming the names because I don't really see no holes in this. So I'm not really gonna try to disrespect anybody by saying that, by trying to figure anything of that out. So, first team: Roger Staubach, Navy; Jim Brown, Syracuse; Herschel Walker, University of Georgia; Jerry Rice, Mississippi Valley State; Larry Fitzgerald from Pittsburgh; Chuck Bednarik from Penn; Orlando Pace, Ohio State; Bill Fralick, who was a part of the Hogs offensive line of the Washington Redskins in the 80s and in the early 90s, played at the University of Pittsburgh; John Hanna from the University of Alabama; and Jim Parker from the Ohio State University. From there, the first team defense: Bruce Smith from Virginia Tech. Bubba Smith from Michigan State; Bruce Smith from Virginia Tech; Bronco Nagurski; Leroy Selman from the University of Oklahoma; Dick Buckus, who averaged 14.4 tackles per game in college at the University of Illinois; Lawrence Taylor; Tommy Nobis from the University of Texas; Deion Sanders; Charles Woodson; Jack Tatum; Florida State, Michigan, and Ohio State respectively; Ronnie Lott, the University of Southern California; Sebastian Janikowski from Florida State; and Ray Guy. Fun fact: Sebastian Janikowski kicked 66 made field goals in college football. Bobby Bowden was quoted as saying, "I would have never lost, and I would have won so many more national championships if I had Janikowski my whole entire time at Florida State." He was the 18th overall pick in the 1999 NFL draft, and he just retired last year. He played 20 years, and he's arguably one of the most polarizing figures in the history of the NFL because he's one of a handful of kickers in all the professional sports you just absolutely do not fuck with. So,
and not just that, man. I mean, being drafted in the first round as a kicker, like that's the most swag you can have as a kicker on a football field.
I agree with that. It's like, bro, I'm a first round pick.
Yeah, it's like, he's just the kicker. It's like, no, that's our rookie right there. That's our big guy.
That's our money guy.
It's like, okay.
That's crazy.
That's crazy
to think about though.
Yeah, like it is. It's wild. I don't think we'll ever see that again. Right. Honestly,
I can go for that. Second team college football 150 All-American team, a little faster this time: Peyton Manning, Bo Jackson, Archie Griffin, Randy Moss, Fred Biletnikoff, Dave Remington. The Dave Remington Trophy is named after him for college football's best center. Anthony Munoz from USC, Jonathan Ogden, UCLA, who was also an All Pac-12 and All-American shot put and discus thrower at UCLA, Aaron Taylor, mid-90s, Notre Dame standout. Big-time Notre Dame standout back then. Dean Steinkooler. Reggie White. Randy White from the University of Maryland. Mean Joe Green. Derek Thomas from the University of Alabama, Cornelius Bennett from the University of Alabama, Rod Woodson from Purdue. Check this out. Rod Woodson played running back, receiver, wide receiver, corner, safety, kick returner, punt returner, and running back. He played all of that at Purdue. I didn't realize that. Champ Bailey at the University of Florida. Champ Bailey, University of Georgia. Go Dogs. One of my friends is watching right now. He have a fucking fit if I said that. Kenny Easley. Ed Reed. Shout out them Hurricanes from the glory years, man. We still relevant. We still the shit. It's really cool. And last name Butler, kicker, and a guy named Erksleben, who was the second team All-American all-time punter. Never heard of the guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if I had Pat McAfee on the show today, we talk about those guys, but he's not here. So
like you were saying before, no one on that list really surprises you at all. They're all prolific names when they got to the league. They got to the NFL, and most of them were great, except for maybe Archie Griffin didn't have a amazing career in the NFL.
Trying to think of his all-time snubs immediately off the top of my head. Ndamukong Suh. First snub I think about. Ndamukong Suh to me was easily, when he left college football, he had put his print on how to play D-line, how to play, he was arguably the best three technique in the history of college football.
I mean, we haven't seen very many have 18 sacks, but have 10 or 12 sacks his last year.
Ndamukong went over double digits his last year. I want to say he had 11.
And not just that, man. He was, just a Heisman finalist. That's all you should have to say for defense. It doesn't happen very often to even have a defensive player that's considered a game changer enough to get in the conversation, much less actually make it to New York. So that should show just how dominant he was. That it was undeniable that this guy's a top 3 player in the country. And
me myself personally, I like to name drop people from he's 20, Steven's 25, I'm 29. I'm a 90 baby, he's a 93, 94 baby. So
94.
90's a 94 baby, I'm a 90 baby. So I like to I brought up the Suh point because he was the most dominant thing I saw in college football coming up. And I've seen a lot of guys. I've seen a lot of really good college football players. But man, that 93 from Nebraska, boy, he was a motherfucker, you hear me? Excuse my language, but that's just what it is. He's a war daddy.
Beat more double teams than any player I think I've seen in a long time, too. I mean, you could try to double team him, most of the time it just didn't work. The guy was he wasn't just huge. He was such an otherworldly athlete, and his slipperiness and getting skinny and all those things you talked about.
Well, here's a close comparison, and I think it's underrated. So you couldn't have put him on the all-time because those are some dogs that they have all-time on this D-line. Excuse me, I meant to say Hugh Green. That was Hugh Green from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Who had Hugh Green had 441 tackles and 49 sacks in 4 years of Pitt. He was a dog. Yeah. So I get that part. Don't get me wrong. That was a name I forgot to mention. Meanwhile, but yeah, I think Suh should have been on that list. We'll leave it at that. And I think you agree with me on that. Agreed?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, NFL rundown from yesterday. So we're going into the variety portion of the show. We're going to give a review of every score. This is the only time we do this. We're going to give you a review of all 16 games yesterday or whatever it was. And from there, once we give you that review, this week we're going to give you the review and we're going to give you a sentence and a half about each team, especially the 20 teams that are not going home, that are not going to the playoffs, including the Dallas Cowboys, who are one of those 20 teams not going to the playoffs. Yeah.
I'll just say fuck the Bears too.
How about them Cowboys?
We're on
man? That's one of the reasons why I got why I do this, man. Why we do this sports podcast, man. Why I want to do a podcast, so I can be able to say one day on air. How about them Cowboys, man? Yes, sir. So good, man.
I mean, I just hope they get like McCarthy or someone else that just loves mediocrity for another 2 years.
Man, I hope they go. Man,
I want them to go 8-8 every year.
Man, I hope they go get the head coach from. I hope they go get it. I hope they go get the damn head coach from Saginaw Valley State somewhere. I don't give them somebody terrible. I don't never want to see nothing great for the Dallas Cowboys. This is how I feel. The New York Jets beat the Buffalo Bills 13-6. The New York Jets in a word for me are really underwhelming this year, really underperforming. You spent a lot of money on C.J. Mosley. You spent a lot of money on Le'Veon Bell. You didn't get much of an ROI. Sam Darnold looks pretty cool. Robbie Anderson seems like he has his head on straight, but I hope he doesn't shit it away in the offseason by just being a slap. But other than that, that's pretty much my take on it as far as like the Jets go. With the Bills, they're in the playoffs, so we'll see. I'm not really giving much of a review or a summary of teams who have made the playoffs. So I'll make a summary for the Cowboys because they're not making the playoffs.
I would just say,
I'm on the ass.
Josh Allen's too inconsistent right now. I don't think they're going to make a deep run, but he's just not consistent enough. I actually think I'd take Darnold over him at this point.
Josh
I think
Allen
if you
had a relatively good year.
He did, but I don't. I think his success is determined on when they're running well. I think, or he's running well too. I think helps a lot, and I think it's very similar to Cam his first couple of years. If you get 8 people in the box and let him throw on one-on-one situations, he can be good enough to win you games. I don't know if he can be good enough to do a deep playoff run. So.
I mean, I feel like this. Playoff runs don't have much to do with quarterback play. You got to be able to play. Your defense got to be able to travel, and you got to run the ball.
Well, if you lose to the Jets 13-6,
that's not a knock on your comment though. Like that's not me discrediting what you just said about Josh Allen. You know what I mean? Yeah. The Saints beat the Panthers yesterday, 42-10. I felt like the football guys kind of cursed the Panthers this year because of how they treated Cam Newton on the back end. So I'm just putting that out there as far as like the fans. Because y'all was so ready to get Cam Newton up out of there. Oh my God, Kyle Allen's the future. We're lit. Ooh, and now it's like we need Cam.
Well, I heard someone else say this too this morning on the way here that it seemed like they kind of gave up after Ron Rivera left. And if you look at the box scores from the last month, it kind of does seem that way. Their team has no fight in them at all. Watching them the last couple of weeks, it's like watching a crippled dog. You're just sad. You want someone to put them out there in misery.
The person who puts juice in the locker room ain't down.
Yeah.
I'm be flat like hot soda in July too. I'm be flat like hot soda in July too.
Yeah, Riverboat. I don't think gets enough credit for his motivational skills. I think that's one thing we hear talk to his team that he does do. He gets them ready mentally and emotionally to play.
Well, one thing about the NFL that fans don't understand compared to professional players, and this is professional arena football, this is Canada and it's the NFL. When you're not in it at a certain point, bro, like. Put it like this: we know as professional athletes how to make it look good for a fan. But that don't mean be in it. That don't mean I'm minding. That don't mean I'm hard in it because it's like it's an underlying reality about the NFL that most people don't give the opportunity most people don't get the opportunity to experience unless you've been a part of it, man. Most of that stuff, man, after so long, once the story's told, it's told. If that makes any sense.
I mean, if you don't have a chance to win anymore, everybody starts off the season with that goal of winning a Super Bowl. Once that's no longer a possibility, your goal is get to the next season healthy for the players. You know.
Go for that. I understand you on that. I'm not mad at that at all. The Browns lost to the Bengals 33-23 yesterday. Freddie Kitchens has been fired as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, aka you got finessed. AKA I got finessed Freddie. This is what I mean by this, people. I was telling my co-host this on the way in today. Freddie Kitchens was only brought in to be able to be a scapegoat for the 1 year of uncertainty that was going to be taking place because of the fact of all of those new egos in Cleveland. And I think that everybody, and the sad part about it is, from what Ian Rappaport said on his Twitter @RapSheet, from what he said, he was like, he's calling, he was on me emotional. So apparently, the Haslam's who were the owner of the Browns finesse, and they were like, oh, Freddie, we rocking with you. Nah, bro, we ain't rocking with you.
And this is a league high 12th coach they're going to have to hire since 2000.
Right.
Just in comparison, Patriots have had 1, Packers have had 3, Colts have had 3.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like Sean Payton in New Orleans, they've had 2, Tomlin and Cowher, that's it. The successful organizations aren't, or another one, Brian Billick and John Harbaugh in the Ravens, they don't turn them in and out, turn them in and out.
Right.
They give them time to set up their organization and see if their system's going to work. I don't think letting a dude play, coach for 1 year is even giving his time system to be fully implemented and have everyone buy in. I think that takes a little time because you have to earn that respect from the players because these are grown men that are getting a paycheck. You got to show that you are going to sacrifice for them, they're going to sacrifice for you, that kind of thing. And I think that's harder to do in a short period in the NFL.
I don't know. I just feel like at the end of the day, if it don't work, it don't work. Well, ain't nothing you can do about that. Coming back on guys for the second hour. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think that was a little bit
my personal opinion.
Because of Freddie Kitchens' inexperience too. I mean, they weren't going to give him, if it didn't work right away, they were going to write him off, like you said. They were just kind of looking for, okay, if we catch fire and this does work, it's on John Dorsey for getting all the talent that they did in the offseason and the last couple of seasons. And if it doesn't work, like you said, we can put it all on Freddie being inexperienced and first-time head coach and then not winning like they thought they should win.
I feel you. The Green Bay Packers beat the Lions by 3 yesterday, 23-20. The LA Chargers lost to the Chiefs 31-21 yesterday. The Chicago Bears beat the Minnesota Vikings yesterday 21-19. Mitchell Trubisky. I can't wait to see what Mr. Trubisky does in 2020 because I just feel like at the end of the day, like he's different. He's definitely like him and Jameis Winston are the 2 most enigmatic quarterbacks in the NFL. To see what they can do with the right system and with the right scenario, and if you give both of them a better O-line. The New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins played yesterday. The Patriots upset the Dolphins by 3. In the grand scheme of things, it was important because they took home field advantage away from the Patriots. But it's hard to bet on playoff Tom Brady. It's hard to do that. It's very, very hard to do that. So I don't think that I'm not going to give that game as much attention as everybody else may. You know what I'm saying? I'm just going to kind of leave that where it is. And kudos to the Dolphins, kudos to Brian Flores for beating his own boss.
That's what I was going to say.
Boss.
If the Dolphins have found anything out, as hard as they've played and how prepared as they've been all season, their games have not been blowouts. There's been the one against the Patriots, the one against the Ravens. Other than that, they've been relatively close.
Miami's the only shitty team in the NFL that just needs more players right now.
Yeah,
you got the right kind of coach up there.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. They found the coach.
Because I know what good coaches and bad coaches look like.
I think they finally found one after the Adam Gase and the Joe Philbin and Dan Cameron. I mean, just a string of bad choices, it seems.
I feel like the Dan Campbell thing didn't really work in Miami because, Stephen Ross doesn't seem like a guy. Stephen Ross seems like a very results-oriented owner. So it's like, results, you don't get no results, I don't really have time for it, and you don't have much clout. Dan Campbell went from being a position coach in the league as an ex-player to being able to be where he is now. So it's like, you got to appreciate that. Well, you got to appreciate how you can aspire so far, but you also got to understand how you can fall so hard, too, from such a high point. Baltimore beat up on Pittsburgh yesterday, 28-10. Dallas beat up on Washington, 47-16 for absolutely no fucking reason because they're not going to the playoffs. The Tennessee Titans, 35-14 over the Texans. The Tennessee Titans won and they played themselves into a playoff berth. The Indianapolis Colts lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, 38-20. Minshew magic is real. I would love for us to reacquire Nick Foles. I don't know how that would work on the contract, Philadelphia, but Howie Roseman figured it out.
That's crazy, man. Carson Wentz has played great with the lack of weapons.
4,000 yards this season passing, and he has no receiver on his roster with over 500 receiving yards.
Only guy to do that.
And he's now the all-time, and he has the number 1 best passing. He has the number 1. He has the most passing yards in a season all-time by a Philadelphia Eagles quarterback. The Oakland Raiders lost to the Broncos by a point. Neither one of those teams are really reputable. See you guys in Vegas, Oakland. Denver, I think Drew Lock is going to be something good for y'all, going to be something special. The Rams beat the Cardinals by 7. Rams, they just can't get off the Super Bowl flump, the Super Bowl slump, if you will, the funk behind the Super Bowl slump that's real, so it is what it is. The Niners and the Seahawks, 26-21, they're both in the playoffs.
Real quick, I think the Cardinals are gonna. I think that division, for one thing, is gonna be incredible in the future. These next 5-6 years, and also the Cardinals look like they found a quarterback, maybe found a coach. I don't know about Cliff Kingsbury that much, but I think they're gonna be good.
I just feel like ultimately, like with that scenario, like I don't know, like they'll go as Kyler goes, but if they get rid of Cliff Kingsbury, I'm interested to see what happens if and when they get rid of Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray's left. Like, all right, what are we gonna do with your little ass now?
I don't think they're gonna get rid of him, man. I think
because people forget, like, Cliff Kingsbury got a job right now because Kyler Murray is Kyler Murray. If there was no Kyler Murray coming out of Oklahoma last year winning the Heisman, Cliff Kingsbury wouldn't have been head coach in Arizona. Facts.
I agree with that, but maybe they found a marriage that works. You know, it's going to work right off the bat.
Well, the thing of it is, it's not even the fact of them finding a marriage. This kid has been dealing with this coach since high school. Like Cliff Kingsbury's known. Like Cliff
recruited him, and
he recruited him to Texas Tech. That didn't work out. He went to A&M. And then from there, once Cliff Kingsbury left Texas Tech to start, doing coordinator jobs, so I kept in touch. But then again, like, the style of offense that Cliff runs, exactly fit for college. So it's like, and when you're that level of player, like, people keep in touch.
And I think one thing that surprised me a little bit, they didn't run the ball as well, but in the beginning of the season as I thought they would. But over the last 6 or 7 weeks, getting Kenyon Drake and Edmonds even had a couple of good games in there too. After they figured out David Johnson just forgot how to play football for a year.
Well, not even
or hurt, I guess.
I feel like this. I feel like David Johnson got hurt at the worst. David Johnson let one of the worst things happen to you in football at any level. You get hurt, like drastically hurt. Then you recover. Then they acquire somebody who you think they're just acquiring because he's good product from a bad situation. That's what everybody thought Kenyon Drake was coming to Arizona from Miami. He's a pretty good running back on a bad team, and now he just shit in your backfield.
Yeah.
So it's like, damn.
Wouldn't mind seeing David Johnson somewhere else. Not gonna lie.
I told y'all last week, man. Come on to Philly, DJ. We need you. If we get David Johnson in Philly, we're going to the Super Bowl next year. Facts. I don't mind saying that.
No.
Facts.
It's not enough.
With what we already have,
y'all need quarterbacks.
With what we have already, full tilt, and we go get some DBs, because mind you, it's nothing but DBs coming out this year. It's big time.
Oh, I agree, for sure. I don't like what y'all have now on the back end, but I think, like you said, that can be fixed in a year or two.
Our back end right now ain't bad. Like, our back end, all of our players right now, except for Malcolm Jenkins, all have the opportunity to improve their game so they can go out there on the open market and make more money. And I guarantee you, guys like Crevon LeBlanc, guys like Avonte Maddox, maybe not so much Sidney Jones yet, maybe not so much Jalen Mills. I'm trying to think, because I know that's our first 5 DBs. I'm trying to think about who our other DBs. Rodney McLeod, Rasul Douglas. Oh my God, we don't cut Rasul Douglas. Oh my God, I hate Rasul Douglas. But now, like, guys like Rasul Douglas, guys like the other 3 DBs I mentioned in Rasul Douglas, Avonte and Crevon LeBlanc, like, those guys would definitely allow themselves to go make some more money on the open market if Philly don't want to pay them, because they may not have had great years, but they got the opportunity to get out there and show themselves and make plays in big games. That's important when you try to make money and keep longevity in the NFL. The playoff preview: San Francisco, Green Bay, 1 and 2 seeds in the NFC. Baltimore and KC, 1 and 2 seeds in the AFC. Little tongue twister there.
I actually think that's how it's going to play out too. I think New Orleans.
You think Baltimore's going to bring some chicken to the Chiefs one day? I was just kidding.
I like to think of Andy Reid as a new Colonel Sanders. He just ate a lot more of his own chicken than the old one did.
Right.
Same mustache. Give it 20 years, it'll be white.
Right.
Beautiful.
Right.
They
He makes his hair grow a little more.
As much as I thought the AFC and the NFC was going to be like a super packed and a super exciting playoffs, the more I went back and watched these teams, I think it's going to be a 2012 rematch, San Francisco versus Baltimore. The way they control the clock with the run game is, and the way they play at the point of attack and the defensive and offensive line, both these teams seem to be the most dominant. What I'm really hoping for is that my boy Aaron goes on a God run, and someone upsets San Francisco and we get New Orleans in Green Bay. Or I'll take San Francisco in Green Bay if we can have about a foot of snow and they forget to plow off the field a little bit, Right. Maybe have those running backs running in slow motion a little bit more than how they looked against us last time.
I'll say this about...
But I think it's New Orleans and San Francisco are probably the best two teams in the NFC, even though my Packers are up there.
I got you.
Their defenses are better.
I guess since you took that side, I'm gonna take the AFC side, and we'll wrap it up and get into the variety part. AFC, I don't know who's gonna come out of the AFC. My safest pick is New England. Yeah. I really hope I don't have to come on this podcast in about 8 weeks and say, or in about 8 weeks come Super Bowl weekend and say, okay, all right.
5 weeks.
Well, excuse me. Thank you, 5 weeks. I hope I don't have to come on this show in 5 weeks and say that, okay, I told y'all last about Tom Brady. So. I told you so, I told you so. I hope I'm right also, too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going with New England. Now, I'm riding with my Eagles, don't get me wrong, but
it's the same thing here. Let's not. I don't want the Packers.
I just feel like ultimately there's so much parity in the AFC playoffs this year, and I feel like the best team in the AFC playoffs this year right now is probably Baltimore. I just want to see if they can beat New England twice. I think it's gonna come down to New England and it's gonna be New England and Baltimore. I guess it'll be New England and Baltimore potentially next week. I don't see Bill Belichick. I see Bill Belichick scheming that shit up this second time. Like, all right, we got that shit sold up, but then again, we might not. Lamar Jackson might take off to the next stratosphere after the playoffs if he do what he's supposed to do.
They've gotten run on a couple of years in the games they've lost or been close to losing. The Patriots have, and they've gotten ran all over.
Right.
And I think if Tennessee, and I think Mike Vrabel's one of those guys that sees something like that and will pound it all day. I mean, yesterday, Derrick Henry was 113 yards away from the rushing record in the second half yesterday, and Mike Vrabel said, okay, we're just going to keep giving it to you, He finally breaks one, gets the Russian championship for this season, over 1,400 yards. I think if they run Derrick Henry all day, they can beat New England. Keep the ball out of Tom Brady's hands. And their defense is good enough.
Time of possession makes sense, Stephen. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a very valid point, brother. But at the end of the day, where will my points come from? This is my point. If Derrick Henry getting all them damn touches and they're not getting in the box with them touches, that means those 6 points that you're thinking they're going to get are going to be field goals. And eventually, New England get that ball back.
They don't have Marriott. They got Tannehill out here throwing dimes to A.J. Brown and Tajay Sharp and Jonnu Smith now.
I try to let folks know what's going on with A.J. Brown. Hold that down.
He is. Oh, I mean, and it looked like Josh Jacobs had it wrapped up through 8 weeks of the season, and then they said, "Oh, we got this 6'4".
I don't think it was either one of them. AJ Brown's only like 6'2", by the way.
Well, he looks like a giant out there playing against those DBs. He's a gigantic human being. It's mass-wise. He's one of the strongest receivers already in the league as a rookie.
I feel like the best rookie in the NFL nobody's talked about, and it's really disappointing. Terry McLaurin from the Washington Redskins. My boy went crazy. Y'all watch these.
He just played great.
Y'all watch the highlights of every Washington Red, because now you can go do it on Google. You go search their schedule, Redskins schedule, say it just like that. Go in there and check their highlights from every single game. Don't worry about if they won or lost. They lost most of them. It's the Redskins. But nonetheless, on damn near every week I used to peep in. I would peep in to see what's going on with the Skins on the highlight. Terry McLaurin somewhere on the highlight, scoring, big play, scoring. Doing whatever, like being a big play, being a big time playmaker for them. I feel like Terry McLaurin is the number one receiver in Washington right now.
Oh, for sure, and he did it with 3 or 4 different quarterbacks this season.
This year, I think
rolling in and out.
I don't think Colt McCoy played this year, so 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't start the season. Well,
Nah, Cole did get out there this year, didn't he?
or maybe Case Keenum started the season. I don't
I
know.
know Case Keenum started
it's 3 or 4
yesterday, and Dwayne
quarterbacks.
Haskins was in street clothes. I know
Yeah,
Dwayne Haskins was in
And I think going forward, him and Dwayne Haskins, Trey McLaurin, they played together at Ohio State, and I think they had good chemistry, and I think that showed very well through the end of the season. I didn't even think about him because they just, like you said, doesn't get talked about because he's in the Redskins, but that's definitely up there in the discussion for Rookie of the Year.
I'm glad you see where I'm coming from, bro. Because I've been trying to tell people about Terry McLaurin since damn October. Terry been going crazy.
So we got the game last night. San Francisco Seahawks is the last one to talk about.
San Fran, Seattle. San Fran pulled it out. Great game.
It was.
Beast Mode's back. Really dope.
Had a touchdown last night. Looked pretty good.
Really dope. I wasn't worried about Beast Mode looking good. I mean, I'm personal friends with somebody in Beast Mode's camp that deals with Beast Mode on a regular, everyday, damn near basis. And he work out like a dog, so I know Beast Mode work out with my boy. So I know I wasn't surprised when Marshawn came back and did what he did. I'm just interested to see what Marshawn gonna do in the playoffs because, man, you let something like that get some momentum, and he already started off on a good foot last night. Oh man, it's gonna be up. It's gonna be tougher than.
If y'all didn't watch the game, Jacob Hollister caught a pass with no time left on the clock, or with 9 seconds left on the clock, and was literally a foot away from winning the game, winning the 2 seed, giving the Packers home field advantage. So that would have been.
I got
nice,
a question for you.
It was a really great game.
I got a question for you because, well, what we're about to do now, guys, we're about to go into the variety show, part of our show, which is just a yearly review. But what seed are the Dallas Cowboys in the playoffs this year?
They're the 8th seed, as in going home.
Oh, so they're not in the playoffs?
No.
That's what I figured. Okay, so the college football playoff, 2019. It was won by Clemson.
Last year.
Clemson slayed at the time one of the most formidable Alabama teams at that certain point in time.
Yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence, like I said, it was Trevor Lawrence, Travis Etienne, the whole entire offense. But that team that year was really driven by their D linemen. Ronald Huggins, Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, and not Brian Burns, and who's the other kid? It was Wilkins.
Yeah, those are the 2 I knew. It was Wilkins.
Dexter Lawrence, Austin Bryant for the Detroit Lions. He's there.
Okay, yeah.
And Cleveland Farrell. Because Cleveland Farrell and Brian Banks is like the same player to me. But yeah, so Cleveland Farrell went in the first round to the Raiders. Then Christian Wilkins went in the first round to the Dolphins. Then Dexter Lawrence went in the first round to the Giants. And then Austin Bryant went in like the 3rd round to the Lions. So they put their whole entire D-line in the league. That was like the major part of that team that year.
And then Sunshine from Remember the Titans just doing work.
Exactly. Trevor Lawrence just having a hell of a game that year. The Super Bowl last year, very underwhelming Super Bowl. But
if you don't like defense. No, I'm just kidding. We've had I want people to realize this, we've had such good Super Bowls in our era. And this one wasn't one of the more entertaining ones. It wasn't the more exciting ones. But what I did like to see was just the mastery of Bill Belichick absolutely shutting down what everyone thought was a juggernaut in the Rams offense, and the young genius Sean McVay just getting showed up by the old elder statesman of the NFL right now.
Right, I agree with that. Also, I felt like seeing in that Super Bowl, the dopest thing to me was the dopest certification that took place in that Super Bowl was the certification of Rob Gronkowski's dominance when he wanted it.
Oh.
Rob was chilling all game, and when it came time, he looked at Brady like, all right, bro, throw me a fade, bro.
Oh, it was one drive.
Go give me a fade. He went to go get that bad boy.
The
rest was history.
If you watch the game, they had one drive where they looked like the Patriots, and the rest of the game, they were like, okay, defense, you got to win it for us. And that one drive won them the game, and it was, a great drive by Brady and Gronk. It was really a great way to end Gronk's career if he doesn't end up, making a comeback next year or whatever. To go out on a high note like that, it's fun to watch him. So.
I got you. You good? Just putting it this way.
Yep. Next, moving on, we got the Final Four. We had UVA, Auburn, Michigan State, and Texas Tech in the Final Four. With, of course, UVA and Tony Bennett winning their first championship. which was awesome to see. They're the most frustrating team in the ACC. For anybody out there who's fans of ACC basketball watching them, it's you find many football games that are outscored by these teams that play UVA. Their defense is stifling. Their pace is one of the slowest out there. And I'm just glad that Tony Bennett finally gets some credit because it's a little bit backwards of what basketball's gone to these days, with the up and down and the super athletic guys getting the run and everything. And they put a couple guys in the NBA the last couple of years. Danielle Hunter, Kyle Guy, Joe Harris, that are really good and that are
Malcolm Brogdon,
great role players.
Facts. I agree.
Brogdon with UVA. Okay.
2000 and it's 19.
I think
2015 ACC Defensive Player of the Year.
Him and Luka Doncic are I think most improved players this year, from what I can see. I mean, it might just be Brogdon getting more time.
Luka doesn't qualify for the most improved because he was just a Rookie of the Year. So it's like he's picking up where he left off.
I see what you're saying. It's more of a natural progression, I guess.
Most improved.
But he's averaging 10 more points and double the assist and rebounds almost.
He went from being a Rookie of the Year to now supplanting himself in the MVP race. Exactly.
Incredible.
That's my point. I agree. That's exactly what I was getting at with that. The AAF, the Alliance, the Alliance of American Football.
Another thing that was underwhelming.
Well, yeah, but yeah, it was a good product. Great product. I think the number one play that still sticks out in everybody's mind was the first weekend's hit on Mike Bercovici, the former Arizona State quarterback who was playing at the time I want to say he was playing for the Hot Shots.
Okay.
And no, I lied. He was playing for the San Diego Fleet. And I think Avery Williamson or somebody like that came off the edge and absolutely decapitated him. It was a beautiful hit. So, but basically what happened with the AAF was this. The owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, the hockey team in the NHL, basically decided that they were going to put themselves in a position he was going to put himself in a position to be the commissioner owner of the AAF. $250 million credit line, just digital money, people. So this, for what it's worth, it ain't really real money. It's money that you can see on numbers, which is money, but it's not money until it transacts. So he held up a $250 million carrot in front of the AAF for 4 months, and then when he realized that the NFL didn't want any inclusion to what they're doing by way of through the AAF, which is something that Bill Polian thought was going to be one of the lifebloods of the league, and they realized that they didn't want to really deal with Bill Polian nor anything in relation to Bill Polian, because he's probably one of the more difficult people to deal with in all of the NFL. Then they put themselves in a position to where that owner of the Carolina Panthers kind of proverbially pulled that carrot out in front of their face, and they ended up folding. Last time I heard, a commissioner named Jerry Kurz, formerly of the Arena Football League, has purchased the majority of the equipment and different products and stuff like that from the AAF. So if you see something recreates itself in the form of something that looks like the AAF, then you know who had his name on that. Tiger Woods won the Masters. His first Masters in 11 years. Or something
his
like
first,
that.
First major in 11 years, but yeah.
Thank you.
I think his last one he won was the Masters too, back then.
He won that Masters then. He won that Masters then too. He was hella old. He was hella hurt or something. He was
had a fused spine and a torn ACL. The last time he won the Masters. This time, looking healthy as ever.
Right.
A couple years ago, won the Player of the Year on the tour, even though he didn't have the major, which we're all waiting for. And he's officially back, I guess you could say. I think he has been for a couple years, in my opinion. But getting the Masters and then getting the Ryder's Cup victory a couple weeks ago, I mean, he looks like old Tiger. And as we all know, golf is a sport where if you can keep up that same level of consistency, you can play forever. We saw Tom Watson win a British Open at 54.
Right.
So it can be done into your 50s. And if anyone can do it, it's going to be Tiger Woods.
When did Tom Watson win the British Open?
I want to say it was 2011.
It was lit. I remember that.
It was awesome.
He was hella old.
Super wrinkly. Yeah, it was dude, this guy's playing at the top level of a professional
golf their
sport,
socks off.
And he was incredible. I mean, it was, and Tiger is in great shape and hasn't been in this kind of shape his entire career. So I mean, if anyone has, it's not John Daly walking 18 holes. You know what I mean?
Right.
If anyone can keep it up, it's him.
That's a scientific experiment within itself.
I mean, the comeback. As Robin Williams says, you have the athletic ability of the African American and the focus of a Buddhist. This is Mom's tie.
What movie is this?
It's from a stand-up special Robin Williams did in 2002, I want to say. He talks about
that was so specific.
He talks about golf, and it's one of the greatest rants of all time. He talks about how they created it. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
He ain't said nothing wrong. The Toronto Raptors won in
6 games.
Yeah, they won in 6 games over the Golden State Warriors. I still to this day don't care what nobody says, man. The most important part, the most newsworthy thing that took place during the finals then wasn't necessarily Stephen Curry it wasn't necessarily Kawhi Leonard and winning the championship. It was the fact of how injuries decimated the Warriors. I feel like if all 3 of those guys had been healthy the entire time, it would have been Toronto in 5
games. If you remember Game 6,
I'm ready to have them arguments in about.
Klay Thompson was in the 3rd quarter with 30 points already and going off when he tore his ACL. I'm of the opinion that if he doesn't get hurt, even without KD, I think they win that in 7.
Personally. I agree with that.
And having KD get hurt, I mean, it changed everything. I mean, if we look at the game where he gets hurt, he was 8 for 8 or 9 for 9 before he tore his Achilles. That team's unstoppable. You know, they were going to three-peat. It was inevitable unless injuries happen. That's what everyone said all season. And then we finally get to the finals. They were relatively healthy until the playoffs when KD strained his calf. And then it had to happen, unfortunately. We didn't get to see the three-peat. The first one since the Lakers would have been.
First one since LA.
And I would have really liked to see
LA did go
the Warriors do it. I think
they did it 3-4.
No, they went 3-3.
Okay.
99 through 02.
Who was their last one? Indiana?
Who they beat in 02?
Who did they beat for the three-peat?
The Jets or the Nets, I believe.
I remember that.
Richard Jefferson.
Jason Kidd, Richard Jefferson, Vince Carter, Aaron Williams.
Yeah, that was a good
old ass Keith Van Horn. He was trying to hang around for that ring. Too bad it didn't happen.
Actually, I take that back. It might have been the 76ers with AI.
Yeah.
We won 4-1. That was the step over game with Ty Lue. Where he hit the shot.
That shit iconic, bro. Like,
yeah.
and by the way, this is Kicking It Old School / My 2 Cents. So you'll hear me give opinion on this stuff as we're going through it, as we're flying by. But we're taking this, we're letting this segment be Kicking It Old School because we're talking about stuff that's happened in the past, from this past. After 2 days from now, we're talking about this past year's worth of information. So,
And one other thing I want to talk about with that is the role players that have turned into borderline stars for the Raptors in Van Fleet and Siakam. Siakam's bona fide at this point. The dude's averaging a double-double and almost 26 points and 12 rebounds a game. And then Van Fleet during the finals last year got votes for MVP of the finals. I would have voted for him personally. I think Kawhi was a little inefficient. But at the same time, he did dominate, and you can't get mad at anyone for voting for him. But Van Fleet has gone off.
Inefficiency and dominance aren't related. So I feel you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Mean, like, Kobe would dominate. Kobe dominated his last game and took 50 shots.
81, but true.
He dominated. In the fourth quarter, he dropped 24 points in the fourth quarter.
Facts, but that wasn't at all efficient.
It's not at all. He was awful.
I was like, bitch, I'm Kobe. You about to get out there. So
exactly.
That shit. I feel you on that. I feel you where you're coming from.
James Harden, his whole career.
Facts. The Las Vegas Raiders.
The Raiders.
Their stadium looks like the Death Star from Star Wars, which is pretty freaking cool. Not gonna lie. But
I think it's a perfect move for the NFL. You're going to talk about guys that just want to go and have a fun weekend. I don't think there's a better way to end it off than a 1 o'clock game at the Raiders.
You're asking for a very volatile location in the offseason for the NFL, though.
Yeah, I can see that.
Ridiculously volatile because.
But at least Sin City has the most relaxed laws outside of it. You know what I mean? So
I can
if you're gonna get into a little bit of trouble, it might be the best place.
But let me say this though. Let me say this to that because that's a very important point that a lot of people wonder about in sports. So let me explain what he's meaning. Softer laws, weed's legal, liquor's cool, prostitution is legal in the state of Nevada. Let's put the elephants in the room for a second. But the thing of it is this though, Steven, my wonderful co-host, like. That's valid, bro. But see, the thing of it is you still have a governing body called the NFL that'll put you in your place of allowing you to, like, you know what I mean. So you have to tread around it more softly. But But what you're saying is there's there's road in Vegas to be driven on. You just got to drive on it carefully.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you're not gonna have the run-ins with the law like you would have in where I'm from in a little
or Charlotte or Atlanta or anywhere like.
Yeah.
It's just different out there.
It's a less conservative place. It's the Wild West.
Facts. I agree wholeheartedly. KD, I don't think KD had a big impact on free agency as much as I feel like Kawhi Leonard had a big impact on free agency. But I respect that statement. So I'll get on your boat but disagree with you.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Because People in the NBA the players in the NBA worth a damn wanted to know where Kevin was going. But I also feel like Kawhi Leonard had 3 teams with a gun to their head hostage. And it was totally different. It's totally different. It was a totally different showing of how you flex.
But here's my thing,
that makes
right?
any sense.
Of course, yeah. Because I mean if you like you're saying he had Lakers, Clippers, and Raptors wherever he wanted them. Giving them whatever he wanted, and you can see that by his uncle's requests that came out this past week were just insane. But the reason I say KD's was so impactful is because if he doesn't get hurt, they win that championship. Kawhi isn't seen as this hero in Toronto the way he is. He still would be seen as great for getting them there. But if like KD doesn't get hurt, that doesn't happen. And Kawhi this summer, I think, considers staying in Toronto because. Going to the West when you don't have that championship and you're still looking, for that other one, which I guess he did have one.
It doesn't make sense when you don't got a ring, but it makes sense when you already got one. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, right. And he did have a ring, but I think wanting to get it.
He had a ring before Toronto. People forget.
Yeah. That's all. It popped out of my head for a second, but yeah.
No. I'm just mentioning that because. It's important. I feel like that was an important tidbit to add to your point.
Yeah. If he didn't, so say he doesn't win, and he has that championship from the Spurs where he wasn't seen as the guy, then I think he stays in Toronto because he's in the East. It's going to be a slightly easier road, which it didn't quite look like that at the beginning of the season It looked like that at the beginning of the season. It might be a little bit closer than we thought with the East and the West.
I agree with that.
And I think he might want to stay in the East and go for another run there because he knew he could already do it with basically the same teams and talent.
He can be dominant like interconference.
And I mean, if we look at the other night against the Lakers, the Clippers won. They only won by 5, but Kawhi played well in the fourth quarter, but the rest of the game he didn't exactly play great. Doncic last night. The Lakers have the defenders where they can make it a very, very difficult night for you.
Right. I agree with that. Andrew Luck retiring. Andrew Luck just kind of came out like I was watching a title fight and it came across the bottom line and Andrew Luck had decided to retire. He's under 30, number 1 draft pick out of number 1 pick.
Yeah, he was number 1.
Number 1 pick in 2012 out of Stanford. He's always will be known to be attached to Robert Griffin III. He has an architectural engineering degree from Stanford.
It's also the Russell Wilson year.
Right, also the Russell Wilson year.
My big thing with Andrew Luck, man, is
and his father, by the way, is Oliver Luck, who is the commissioner of the XFL. So if he ends up scratching an itch and playing in the XFL, and they use it for a marketing ploy, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it'll happen, but
yeah, I think if he plays football,
You'd be surprised how much like asking power that you had just because you're somebody's dad.
I don't know. I get
Just
that,
saying.
but I think if he's gonna play football again, it would be back in the NFL. Obviously, someone that is unfortunate the way their career turned out because of how it started. The dude had a great 5,040 touchdown season. He had 11 wins a season. He averaged until he started getting hurt. Took a team that was 2-14 to 11-5 in 1 year, which is the biggest turnaround in NFL history. And it really is a shame because they kind of did what happened to David Carr and Tony Romo, is they didn't get an offensive line and running back help for him and defensive help for him until it was too late, until his career had already.
I felt like Andrew Luck always had help on defense. He had a lot of underrated help on defense. But by the same token, though.
No O-line those first couple years.
Yeah, like their O-line was Anthony Costanzo and whoever else. Yeah. And then you went to go get Ryan Kelly. And
Quentin Nelson.
Then you went to go get Quentin Nelson.
And now you got an O-line.
Now you got a decent left. You got a really good left side from the center over. And then I think Mark Glowinski is their starting right guard, and then they got some slap at tackle. I don't know.
But, you know, if they put those guys around him earlier in his career, maybe he doesn't get the lacerated spleen or the other knee injury or the other shoulder injury, or, you know, you just hope. And we can't do nothing about it now. It's all
but I'm gonna be honest
hindsight.
Too. Like, it makes me all time. I'm always gonna just question his love for the game because Andrew Luck don't need the NFL. Andrew Luck come from money, and he's got an architectural engineering degree from Stanford. He's a very, very smart man.
Well, I actually see that as the opposite. The fact that he doesn't need those things, that he isn't working to get out of a bad situation, that he's good no matter what, I think that shows more of a love for the game, in my opinion.
Well, this is my thing, Steven. I get your point, but I feel like we're saying two separate things. This is not an argument. Let me be clear. So let me speak to what I mean to give clarification, because you make a very valid point. What I took from what you just said is the fact that you can be comfortable outside of what you do and know that you can give yourself full focus and concentration to your craft because your life outside of your craft is comfortable. I get that, and that's valid and it's dope. I'm not mad at that. But at the end of the day, if Andrew Luck came from a different situation, I think it would have been more preemptive hunger instilled in him to allow him to continue to play the game. But I'm not a doctor, just like you're not a doctor, just like I've never been with the coach, just like you've never been with the coach, not at least through Andrew Luck's tenure. So my thing is, I feel like ultimately it's very, 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 very difficult for me to say or make a determination as to like how that happened or why that happened. But it is what it is. We wish him the best of luck. I feel like, pun intended, yes. So, you know, we definitely wish him the best of luck. We definitely want to see him back in the NFL one day if he can get healthy. Because I think he's one of the more. He's one of the more just overall great ambassadors of the game, etc. He's just somebody.
And a great talent, man. I mean, the dude.
No, he's an excellent talent. But what I mean by that part with the ambassador, like when you go to his mic'd up and he good hit, big dog. Ooh, like he just plays the game the way it's supposed to be played. Like. And I think that's important. So, you know, I'm interested to see what will go on going forward with that. With Andrew Luck, that is. Speaking of quarterbacks, Lamar Jackson was the most noteworthy figure in the NFL this year. It's not even close. We got a few more topics to get through, so we're kind of run through this back portion. With LJ, like, I don't know.
I mean, 1,200 yards rushing plus leading the league in touchdown passes is something I didn't even think would be that possible.
I'm not saying this to make this a racial thing because I've never been a fan of that in football. Sport is different, but I've never been a fan of that shit in football. But I can say this. Lamar Jackson is literally the birth child of all the great black quarterbacks that ever played in the NFL. All in one.
It's Warren Moon on Mike Vick's legs. That's what it looks like, man.
To me, he's got the moxie of a Randall Cunningham. He's got the escapability and the elusiveness of a Michael Vick. He's got the leadership and the humbleness of a Steve McNair. He reminds me a lot of Doug Williams because he plays big in big games. He reminds me a lot of Warren Moon because he doesn't want the credit. He wants the credit for everybody else around him. He reminds me of Donovan McNabb because of the fact that he he's cool. He plays with a lot of flav. People forget Donovan McNabb was the only quarterback in
he
the
was
NFL
saucy,
playing
man.
in the Jordans. Like, motherfuckers forget that. You know what I'm saying?
I know exactly what you mean.
You know what I'm
It's
saying? Like,
it is.
There's so many.
You don't want to say
it's
it's the culmination of black quarterbacking. You know, that sounds so shitty to say, kind of, but it kind of is. It's like you said.
I mean, he's definitely he's definitely the crown prince of black quarterback playing.
You know, because
I don't mind saying that.
20 years ago,
I think that's a great way you put it. I agree with that every time.
Or 30 years ago, they got told. You know, the scouts got told they couldn't judge people on black and white anymore, so they put it in code words, which was dual threat or drop back quarterback.
Right.
Now that's gone. The dual threat.
Prototypical.
Yeah.
That's the number one. Yeah.
But the dual threat is what everyone is getting now. Name a quarterback. Daniel Jones is the only high drafted quarterback that hasn't been able to run in the last couple of years.
And he tries.
Yeah. And it's not that he's not unathletic.
No, facts. But like scheme wise, Pat Shurmur ain't doing with him or what's
and he's not with Deshaun Watson. He's not. Even Patrick Mahomes can get out on the edge and run.
Patrick is mobile on the read option a little bit.
And like you're saying, we're coming into a point now. Russell Wilson's going to be the elder statesman in 2 or 3 years when the Ryans and Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Brady, they're all gone. Big Ben.
Yeah.
So you're going to have the eldest best quarterback in the league is going to be black, and then you're going to have Mahomes, who's probably going to put up better numbers than anyone in history as long as he stays healthy.
Right.
Lamar Jackson's already the best rushing quarterback we've ever seen. All black, which is, like you said, it's inevitable at this point because, like, football, I think, has been one of the least racist. Emily Tunnell getting into the NFL even before Jackie Robinson did. I think, I shouldn't say least racist, more like most inclusive or understanding that with the things like the Rooney Rule and understanding that without African American athletes, black
the
athletes,
most racially progressive league in America.
It wouldn't be anything. Well, NBA,
NBA.
But yeah.
Well, the NBA does. The NBA does more of being cool, calm, and collected under pressure when you talk about race issues. But then again, like everybody in the NBA is black. So
also in the 60s, they had their 2 biggest stars were also the 2 most outspoken, along with Muhammad Ali, Bill Russell, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, were more outspoken than anyone. In sports now or since, you know.
Right. Well, I mean, but at the end of the day, it's really good that, like, it's really good that people, it's really good that, like, there was so many black figures who paved the way for a guy like Lamar Jackson to do what he needs to do.
Yeah.
Now, all those same black figures, their time is wasted in the grand scheme of things. Let me go back. I won't be honest. I'm a fan of the guy. But the by any means necessary and the aspect of demanding my respect was something that, you know, was really big to those guys back then. Antonio Brown kind of embodies that, but he goes about it in a very, like, unprofessional manner. But by the same token, he's him. So I understand that. I'm not mad at that. It's not a knock. So
for some reason,
I feel like ultimately,
greatness comes at a price. Is that something you can say? It seems that a lot of these great athletes, they seem to be flawed in some way, you know?
Well, nobody's perfect, Steve.
Exactly. And well, I shouldn't say in some way, in a personality trait, you know? And AB, everyone, all the reports I've heard was as soon as he got paid, he changed. And I'm not judging the guy. If I got paid, I'd go crazy. I mean, Justin Bieber would have nothing on me with the just insanity I would be if I was a millionaire at 20. You know what I mean? It's just, and the thing I hate the most about it is I do think he's the best receiver I've ever seen, and that includes the great one, Jerry Rice, for me. He won't reach that because he just won't play long enough to be that great, you know, for, you know, that long of a period. But I think if I'm getting any receiver one-on-one, win or out, it's between him and Randy, and that's only because Randy's 5 inches taller than him.
I feel like at the end of the day, AB is just at halftime of his NFL career, and he's going to have a great 5, 6, 7 years after this, but we'll see.
I hope so. You know what I was hoping when the Saints...
He's the best talent in football. He's one of the best talents in football.
I don't think people...
in the last 10 years.
A 6th round draft pick who's 5'10". 5'10".
But he a Miami boy. A lot of that shit don't matter.
It's swagger.
You just gonna go out there and go get your ass. The World Series. The Washington Nationals won the World Series. They beat the Houston Astros in 7 games. Basically the aftermath of all of that. Anthony Rendon won a ring, got on through. He went to the Angels. 7 years, $245 million. Same exact contract Steven Strasburg got for the Nationals. 7 years, $245 million. Steven Strasburg was the World Series MVP. Carmelo Anthony's back in the NBA. Since he's gotten back in the NBA, he's had a week where he averaged over 20 points a game. He's had a Conference Player of the Week. And it went viral last night. It went viral from this weekend that he had a really, really, really like nifty steal that put him right back into like an immediate Melo style jump shot. So Melo has really made an earth-shattering return to the NBA for what it's worth. And what I mean by that is he looks so efficient. He looks so natural. He looks like a fish back in water.
He's not doing too much or being ignored like I think he was a little bit with Houston. They just had too many shooters, and he came in a little bit late in the system.
Well, this is also the thing too. Melo's in a place where Melo's in a space where like he can shine.
They need a scorer. They need.
Like he done been like Houston and OKC. He was one of the biggest names and best players on both of them teams. Like just pure basketball skill, but like he had no platform, he had no chance.
Yeah, I mean you got Westbrook and Steven Adams and the other guys they had at OKC, and then at Houston, I mean, Harden just eats up time.
I agree.
And he was needed at the Trailblazers. They needed a third scorer. Hassan Whiteside just doesn't play hard enough every night, where he can do it every other night. But if you have that fourth scorer in there with Melo, it just ends up helping you make a playoff push.
I got you. Speaking of playoff pushes, the Los Angeles Lakers don't got to worry about that no more.
4-year drought.
Yeah, they're the Lakers again, for sure. LeBron, JaVale McGee, Rajon Rondo, Avery Bradley, KCP, Kyle Kuzma, who had 24 points the other night, or like last night or something like that.
It was the Trailblazers.
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Last night, LeBron only dropped 13 points, but you have KCP going 4 for 5, and Dwight Howard going 6 for 6, JaVale McGee going 5 for 5. If those role players play like that offensively, because defensively they bring it every night. Those guys have been playing tremendously on the defensive side.
They have the best veteran group in the NBA with the best facilitator of the basketball. That's a very, very, very dangerous combination.
Yeah. LeBron is the best point guard in the league right now, and it's really impressive to watch it. Your 17th year in the season.
Speaking of impressive, I think we can both agree that the most impressive athlete in 2019 was Joe Burrow. Everybody's told the story a million times, so we'll tell it for the 1,000,001st time. Ohio State kid, 2015, comes in red shirts. From there, he plays in 10 games over a 2-year process. Backs up guys like JT Barrett, Cardell Jones, etc. Graduates from Ohio State, decides to take his talents to LSU. His dad, Jimmy Burrow, who's a long-time 30-plus year college football defensive coordinator, you know what I'm saying, very respectable, reputable guy, sends his son to LSU. He gets there, everything's cool, examination. And then after that, once he gets there, ladies and gentlemen, he wins a Heisman Trophy, a Davey O'Brien Award, a Johnny Unitas Golden Arm Award, a Maxwell Award. He's a first-team AP All-American, SEC Player of the Year, SEC Offensive Player of the Year, AP Player of the Year, Maxwell Award winner, Johnny Unitas Golden Arm winner. I'm running out of awards.
After his 7-touchdown first half the other night, he now has 55 touchdowns on the year.
55 touchdowns on the year, 8 total touchdowns in a bowl game record.
The dude is not just playing better than everyone else, making it look easy.
Joe Burrow potentially is. Joe Burrow to me, now a lot of people, I hope this is like buzzworthy, but because I think I'm going to do a mini podcast about this. I'm going to do a mini podcast this week about the greatness that is Joe Burrow, because I think that if Joe Burrow accomplishes what he's supposed to accomplish in a couple weeks, Joe Burrow is the best college quarterback of all time.
If you look at the film watching him, it's like when those 5-star quarterbacks come out of those little towns where they're playing like 1A high school football and they're dropping 6 touchdowns a night, and it's just, this dude obviously belongs against higher competition.
He just looked like that.
He looks like it.
He looked like that in the damn college football playoffs.
In the second, supposed to be the second hardest game. It's insane.
Bro,
It's incredible to watch
it is
right now.
Ridiculous, bro. And it's so funny that you said that example, bro. Like, oh my god, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Todd McShay talked about it. He was maybe a 4th-round pick coming into the year, and is solidly in the number 1 overall.
Right, it's not even close. Like, speaking of transfer quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts finished his career Saturday at Oklahoma. Great career, big dog. Big salute to you. One of my favorite player in college football this past year. So definitely glad to see him finish his career, but very sad to see it go out the way it did because his teammates left him out to dry. I'm just going to put that out there.
Justin Fields, my favorite transfer quarterback of the year. I think though is going to be the number 1 pick next year or in 2 years, whenever he decides to come.
Right.
And threw 2 picks in the playoff game.
Yeah,
Only had
that
one all
last
season.
one, man, that last one, man, that hurts. If he could, I just wonder I just wish, like, you remember Madden 2002 with Culpepper on the cover, he used to have a mulligan? I just wish you could have a mulligan play. Like, I wish every college football team could have one mulligan in their pocket to use once a season in one game, one
They
time.
throw like a green flag and say, I'll have that back Sunday.
It's like it gotta be like a gold flag or something like shiny, like, all right, we're gonna throw the diamond flag out. All right, we're gonna get a mulligan. Like, that's crazy, because, like, what if you could do that again? Like, that'd be crazy.
It's a great rule.
Facts. On the back end of the year, the transfer quarterback, Kelly Bryant didn't do absolutely shit at Missouri. They should be ashamed of themselves, but I told people Kelly Bryant was trash, so there you go. And Jacob Eason is declared for the NFL draft from the University of Washington. He was the former number 1 pocket passing quarterback coming out of high school who was playing for the University of Georgia. So the worst transfer quarterback story of the year of this 4 years though, or of the time that these great transfer quarterbacks are now leaving college. A kid named Hunter Johnson, number 1 pocket passer in the country about 2-3 years ago, went to Clemson. He ends up at Northwestern. He can't even scratch the 4th string. Ooh. Sometimes you miss.
It's a different animal in college sometimes.
Facts.
I want to throw Sam Howell in here because he was supposed to be at Florida State, a late decommit after they fired their coach.
Right.
So now not really a transfer, but he kind of transferred to Carolina.
I mean, yeah, because, like, and the second part of that story is this. When they got rid of the coach at Florida State and Sam Howell decommitted, I think like 2 or 3 days later, Mac Brown came on to board at Chapel Hill, and he figured out who the kid was immediately and said, hey, y'all go to Sun Valley and go get this kid and don't come back from Charlotte until you have Sam Howell's LOI in your hand. So that's how that worked out. And it worked out absolutely amazingly. Speaking of things working out absolutely amazingly, I think that's the best way that you can probably describe Garrett Cole's bank statements at this point. They're absolutely amazingly. And amazingly is not even really a word, but they're just absolutely amazing. What did he do? What did they sign him for?
10 years, 300.
Yeah, 10 years, $324 million.
300 million.
Yeah,
7 years or something like that.
Yeah.
It was insane.
9 years, $324 million contract.
Yep.
Facts. Basically, guys, he makes $10,000 a pitch. You do the math. It's absolutely ridiculous. Speaking of things being absolutely ridiculous, I think load management is absolutely ridiculous. However, because my co-host and I have had conversations about this for the last 3 weeks on the way into record. This is all I'm going to say about this, and I'm going to leave it alone, people. Load management is not bad when you really have something to load manage. I've been trying to argue with him all year that Kawhi Leonard should not be load managed. He definitely should be load managed because of the fact that he's still probably weary about what the Spurs did with his injuries down in San Antonio, which allowed him to get the hell up out of San Antonio. Not to say he's not healthy right now. I'm pretty sure he's healthy right now, but they just want to be careful about it in LA. So that's fair. That's fair. Can I see that?
Yeah, I guess my whole thing essentially has been that I just don't want it to spread. I understand because he has been a little injury prone, and like you said, what's going on with the doctors between the team and his personal doctors. I can understand that. I just don't want this to spread and every superstar thinking that this is the way they should go about business. Which I think a lot of them are too competitive to do it. As far as not that Kawhi's not, obviously he is, but as far as wanting to go out there kind of like Westbrook every night and be the guy every single night. I don't care if we're playing Sacramento or if we're playing the Lakers. You know.
I got you. Speaking of both of those players, We really already discussed Christmas basketball, but I thought this year Christmas basketball was really, really cool. I thought it was really, really dope. One thing I'll say, bring back the Christmas uniform. I don't want to see no plain uniform on Christmas. With the NFL playoffs, we had an NFL playoff preview already earlier in the show. Let me give you some exact information. For this weekend, January the 4th, the AFC has the day for the playoffs. 4:35 p.m. Saturday, January the 4th, Buffalo at Houston. Houston at Buffalo on ESPN. 4:35 p.m. 8:15 p.m. that Saturday on CBS. January the 4th, New England, Tennessee. Tennessee at New England, 60 at 3 seed. Sunday, January 5th, is being taken up by the NFC. The 105 game is New Orleans and Minnesota at New Orleans on Fox. The 440 game on NBC is in Philly, where my beloved Philadelphia Eagles, who are the NFC East champions of the NFL in 2019, unlike the Dallas Cowboys, are playing against the 5th seed Seattle Seahawks. And from there, next Monday, we'll give you guys a review and another schedule. I don't want to give out too much timing information, things of that nature. My pick for the college football playoff, I got LSU winning by 10 to 17 points because I think it's going to be very, very close, and I think Clemson's just not going to lay down.
I'm going to go with Clemson. I picked them last week to win it. I'm just hoping Dabo Swinney and Trevor Lawrence just have one of those Deshaun Watson type games from a couple years ago, the first time they beat Bama.
Right. This was in relation to the only team that I know that is moving anywhere on the back end of this decade, other than the LA Rams moving out of the Coliseum, which doesn't technically count because they're still being LA. The Oakland Raiders had a very, not really abysmal, but I felt like they had a very disappointing performance last game at the Oakland Coliseum, which led them to them being booed for 48 minutes after the game by the entire Oakland crowd contingency.
John Gruden goes for 2 in a game that didn't matter after Tennessee had already wrapped up their game. So I understand, just go for the win, but at the same time, you want to give your team the best chance to win, and I think he should have just kicked the field goal, played for overtime. But it is what it is. It's going to be sad to see the Raiders not in Oakland. Al Davis is gone. They were never going to get that done without him, unfortunately, passing away. He loved Oakland, and he loved that stadium, those people. I hate it for Oakland. Golden State just left. Now the Raiders are gone. They have the A's left, and I can't see that lasting too much longer.
They have professional football in Oakland, though. The Oakland Panthers of the IFL.
Okay.
They have professional football in Oakland. It'll be played at the Oracle.
Get a little arena football.
It'll be at the Oracle Arena. Facts. Okay. I got to get my arena football in there sometime.
Of course.
And beyond that, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that is the conclusion of our show today.
All done. Episode 8, UntiedJordans podcast.
Not once again, but this podcast today was brought to you by Coach Jordan Football Consultation, 470-426-7354, located out of Charlotte, North Carolina, working with 8th grade to 12th grade defensive alignment. This podcast is also brought in part to you by Wyoming Sauce Company, as well as Field Nutrition, also out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So once again, my name is Jordan Mosley, my co-host.
Stephen Untie.
This has been Untied Jordans, episode 8, the variety show episode for the end of the 2019 year. Before I get off the air, I want to say this. Each and every person that watches, subscribes, likes, views, shares, comments, gives commentary, we thoroughly appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Death, man, because when we first started this endeavor, we didn't really know what the fuck we were doing. But it's a situation now where I think we're starting to cement a very, very solid product that our viewer and that the people, hopefully locally and then regionally and then nationally, will be able to start figuring out what's going on. And we thoroughly appreciate you guys' love and support, and we'll continue to be here each and every Monday until otherwise. And obviously when we're not going to be here on Mondays going forward, we'll have a different date and time, and we'll let all of our following know and let those guys know for sure. And beyond that,
Happy New Year's, everybody.
Happy New Year, guys, and
see y'all next year.
Be smooth. See you guys next year. Have a good day. Enjoy your Monday, guys.